Hello guys and welcome back to a new election video today. We will be talking about the Sardinian local elections happening today. After covering the Abruzzo elections earlier this month, this will be the second Italian local election of 2019 out of 6, and also uh, around like the fourth major election of 2019 because I missed two of them. There was a presidential election in Nigeria, which the result of I haven't looked at yet, and a election in El Salvador, which the result of was, after looking back at it, not that interesting. So I didn't cover those, but they weren't that major or important anyway. Today we have a lot nicer graphics because I decided to take higher resolution logos, except of one person that you might see here, and then a logo of a party because Wikipedia decided to not give any high resolution pictures of them out there. But hey, okay, why not? So let's get right into it by talking about the last election and current government. Last time around, the Democratic Party came out on top with 22% of the vote, Forza Italia came second with 18% of the vote, and the rest of the vote was split between local and other smaller parties. Noticeable is that last time around, neither Lega nor the Five Star Movement stood in an election. I personally don't know why Lega didn't stand in it. Uh, Probably because when the last elections happened, they were still more concerned on the north, and the Five Star Movement apparently had some dispute with their logo, where their previous leader, Beto Grillo, wanted to use some kind of logo that Sardinia didn't accept or whatever. I don't exactly know it, but that's something that why apparently didn't stand in that election. Francesco Pigliaro, I think is pronounced, won the presidency with 42% of the vote ahead of Ugo Capellacci with 39%. Mauro Fili, who is the only one of the candidates standing again, also got 6% of the vote. Well, more 5% of the vote, but rounded up at 6% of the vote. Yeah, I know, Ugo Capellacci's vote is rounded up 40% of the vote. But hey, although he got elected, Francesco Pigliaro is not standing as a candidate of the center-left coalition again. So, let's find out who is standing instead of him. And instead of him, we have Massimo Seda. Like I said last time around, I made a video about the Italian local elections. I'm gonna butcher all the names, except party names, I think. I think I have those down good, but a lot of these names are extremely long and extremely difficult, so I'm sorry in advance. So he is an independent nominee of the center left, so he's not representing any kind of actual party. He's the former mayor of Cagliari. I think it's the largest city in Sardinia, if I'm not wrong. And he's the son of the former Sardinian Communist Party leader. Uh, Interesting. But uh, retarded ideas hopefully aren't genetic. Although um, he joined the Sinistra Ecologia Liberta, so I mean, he left them, but he was part of them, so apparently retarded ideas are genetically transferred. Because they were, like, they were democratic socialists, kind of environmentalists, I think. Yeah, if he's really that independent, I mean, he's definitely not politically independent. Anyway, the candidate of the center-right coalition is Christian Solinas. I love him because of his name, it's so easy to pronounce, hopefully. He's the secretary of the Sardinian Action Party, which is a party very similar to the Lega. It is a Sardinian nationalist party that used to be all about separatism and autonomy, but similar to Lega, who used to be just northern autonomy and separatism, kind of have reformed a lot under Cristian Solinas to become more like the modern day Lega, as a general, just patriotic nationalist party for the region, but not really wanting the region to become independent or anything like that anymore. Solinas himself is a senator of the Sardinian Action Party, and he was the main driving force to make the SNP more like Lega. Yeah, so he's actually sitting together with the Lega senators, and he's also been in the party for a very, very long time and been their leader for the last 5 years. Next up is the candidate of the Five Star Movement, Francesco de Sugos. Francesco de Sugos is an interesting personality because I haven't been able to find any actual information on him as if he was a fourth or fifth party candidate, interestingly enough. So maybe his chances of actually winning this election are smaller than expected. Now then we have Mauro Fidi, the only other candidate mentioned in the polls, yeah? Besides Seda, Solinas and De Sugos, he's the only one that wasn't grouped together as others in one poll, but another poll didn't even show him. The polls won't be that important with the Italian regional elections. When I cover bigger elections later this year, polls will be a lot more important because there's a lot more of them. Here, these local elections is almost like 3 or 4 or 2 presidential election polls, and then one actual normal poll, which shows all the parties. So it's always very difficult to really make out anything here. Anyway, he was the president of Sardinia from 2001 to 2003, and the mayor of Iglesias, probably another city in Sardinia, from 1993 to 1999, and a long-time member of the Senate for Forza Italia. In 2013, he founded the party Unidos, I think, a center-right separatist political party, and he obtained 5% of the vote in this election. He's probably going to be seeking to get more than that this time around. Then we have Andrea Murgia, the candidate of two Sardinian nationalist separatist parties. Also, there's Paolo Maninchena, the leader and founder of the Party of Sardinians, literally calling themselves the Party of Sardinians, interestingly enough, and the center-left Social Democratic Sardinia Nationalist Party. Very similar to the Democratic Party, just based on Sardinia. Then there's Vindici Lekis, Vindici Lekmiomash, the candidate of the Communist Party. All these three don't really have a chance to win the election now. So let's move on to the coalitions then, shall we? Let's start with the center-right coalition. No, not the center-right, the center-left coalition I have first here. The center-left coalition here is a lot smaller, but that is just because there's less logos available for the other parties. It's made up of the center-left Social Democratic Party, which is the current ruling party, although they won't be after this election. Well, technically speaking, they could get their president elected, but they probably won't be first anymore. Yeah. Then we have the Democratic Socialist Liberi Uguali, which often on a national level I think is actually independent and doesn't actually work together in the center-left coalition, so it's interesting here. And then a lot of localist center-left parties, and there's also a near-communist Green Party in there. Then we have the center-right coalition with all the familiar faces of the right-wing Sardinian Nationalist Sardinian Action Party, together with the right-wing populist Lega, the center-right liberal conservative Forza Italia, and the National Conservative Brothers of Italy, including a bunch of center-right localist parties, like a Union of the Center, how they call themselves, and one that is all about energy, and then Forza Paris, which I think they just took the wrong direction. They wanted to go one island above. Anyway, let's move on to the actual polls then, shall we? Here in the polls, it's showing that for the presidential election, the polls show Solinas in the lead, with Seda in second and De Sugos in third. Fede has been mentioned in one poll, as I mentioned before, where he got 5%. The others are continuously polling around 5% too. Now, if you have a similar effect here as in Abruzzo, these polls will not be that accurate, because apparently Italian polling services don't know how to predict these local elections anymore. Okay. Then we have the parties. In the parties, it's currently looking like the Five-Star Movement would be first in the mid-20s in terms of percentage-wise, and then Lega and the party, the Partito Democratico, the Democratic Party, battling it out for second place. Although if the trend emerges similar to Abruzzo, Lega won't have a problem to win that battle for second place at all. So I think Solinas will most likely win the election, but Seda might make it interesting, and the factor of Philly producing a major upset / taking away center-right votes shouldn't be ignored either. Although De Sugos will most likely be a flop, because if I'm not able to find any information on him, then he probably isn't that big of a guy that many people know. It seems that probably just people who vote for the Five-Star Movement would be like, yeah, De Sugos is a great guy, let's vote for him too. Don't know. Maybe. and we had a similar situation in Abruzzo where there was where he was the five-star movement candidate was a pretty much newcomer and not that well known, and she flopped immensely. She got way less, and the party also got way less than expected. So what do I know? But I think that the five-star movement will most likely come on top. Then Lega in second, comfortably, probably around 18 to 20%, something like that. And then the Democratic Party in third, well, around 13% is where I see them. The five-star movement could be anywhere between 20 and 30%. It really depends on how they feel today. But like I said, if it goes all like it went in Abruzzo, we might have a major surprise today. Well then, that's all for this video. I hope I was able to inform you. If you want to see more, click on the linked video, and don't forget to like and subscribe. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you guys in the next video.